Hello, I'm Maria Ng. Welcome to my final presentation for my capstone project for EDTC 6358. The project I created is an e-learning course to review the concepts of cellular transport. This project was aimed at freshman biology students that are preparing to take the STAR End of Course Exam, or EOC. Based on last year's STAR data, Text 4B, which covers cellular transport, was one of the lowest scoring topics. So I chose to focus my project on this particular concept. The ultimate goal for this project was to create an online instructional solution that would aid to increase student performance on the District-Based Assessment, or DBA, which is the district benchmark or practice exam to prepare students for the EOC. If student performance increases on the DBA, it's a good indicator that they will perform better on the EOC, which students are required to pass for graduation. Through the process of creating this instructional solution, I was able to accomplish all the goals I had set for myself in creating a usable e-learning course. The instructional solution is housed in a Wix website and includes 4 lessons, which are the subtopics for Text 4B. Each of the lessons include module objectives, lesson notes and images to support the text, an interactive video, discussion questions, and a quiz. For the most part, my end product is very much aligned with my initial plan, though there are a few minor differences. Initially, I didn't include a student expectations page, but in lieu of a syllabus, I chose to include one of these pages since I would have the students all year, and I figured a student expectations page would be a good replacement for a syllabus. I also added objectives at the beginning of each module to state what the students should know by the end of the lessons. Peer feedback suggested I included back buttons, so I added those, and finally I added links to the interactive videos on the module homepage to make it easier for students to access them if they wanted to re-watch any of the videos prior to taking the quiz. To demonstrate the rationale for my instructional design, I will access my course and give a brief tour of the instructional solution. This is my homepage, which will welcome students and explain the course navigation. The Start Here page explains how to work through the 4 modules. The 4 modules cover the 4 subtopics: passive transport, tonicity, active transport, and comparing passive and active transport. I'm going to quickly show you Module 1 to give you an idea of how each module is set up. Each module begins with the module objective, followed by informative notes and images. A few pages have links to demos of the cell transport, and all of the pages have arrows to click to the previous and the next page. At the end of each lesson, there is a link for an interactive video. Here they will type in their name, and they will work through and watch the video and answer questions that are embedded in the video. I created the video using Zaption. Feedback from my students were very positive for this part of the lesson. They really enjoyed answering questions about the video and getting immediate feedback. I'm going to show you a quick demo of how this video works. I'm going to fast forward it closer to where the questions are. So each of the lines on the screen represent where a question or some embedded text might be located. So there's going to be a question that will be asked of them. Normally this wouldn't have anything bubbled in, but I had practiced through this earlier. So cell wall is already selected, so I'm just going to leave it at that and hit submit. And that's a wrong answer, and so it'll tell them it's incorrect, and it'll explain what the correct answer is. If they had the right answer, it would let them know that they were correct, and they would continue, and the video would continue playing. So they'll kind of walk through and it kind of reviews the entire concept that I would have just covered in the notes. So next is going to be the discussion questions, so they're going to click this link. Each of the 4 modules have a question that's going to support the topic for that particular lesson. Correctly answering the question would demonstrate the student has a good grasp on the understanding of the topic that was presented in the previous steps. Finally, they're going to take the quiz. Each lesson has a 10-question quiz that I created using Google Forms. The quiz will cover a lot of the vocabulary and some of the processes discussed in the lesson. So students will repeat the very similar process for the other 3 lessons. So through the process of completing this project, there were many lessons that I learned. Some were small, others were major. I'm going to focus on the 3 biggest lessons I learned in completing this project. The first is about formative evaluation. I realized it's best to do it early and even more than once if necessary. Waiting until the project is done or almost done can cause setback if errors are found that need to be fixed, especially if they end up being big ones. Versus if I caught these earlier in the process, that would allow you to make those changes sooner and also help you to create a better final product. Another important lesson for me was creating and sticking to a timeline. That's one of the best ways that you can manage your time and keep you on track. It's going to allow you to have a checklist of what you need to do, and then also allows you to cross off what you've already done. I think this helps you to feel accomplished with the little tasks and pushes you to move on to the next thing. It makes the project a little less overwhelming also. Finally, I learned that it's really important to evaluate the campus or district calendar when creating your own timeline. Things may seem like they're all planned out and going to fall into place perfectly, but then all of a sudden you realize you run into things like testing, and that delays you finishing your project because the selected group for your formative assessment is now unavailable or really busy. So things like this can slow down the process of your work. So if you plan ahead of it, you can adjust your timetable and not have a delay in your project completion. In reference to the human's performance problem, I believe the instructional solution was effective in addressing the problem. 100% of my students that actually completed this online learning had a higher than average on Text 4B for their DBA as compared to last year's EOC scores. Keep in mind, again, these 2 tests were the same exam. So the overall average on the test was higher than last year's test. So students just took the EOC last week, this year's EOC, and when those results come in, I'll be evaluating the results on this year's test to see if that performance mirrors how well they performed on the DBA. I appreciate y'all for sitting in and watching my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everybody has a wonderful summer, and congratulations to all those of you that are graduating this weekend.